Welcome to Martinez Life. I'm Tom Greerty. We have Bill Smith with us. Bill was at Alhambra forever, practically. Great to see you, Bill. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing pretty well. Considering the shape I'm in, I'm not too bad.
Now, you were at Alhambra. What year did you first come to Martinez and go to Alhambra?
I came here in the fall of 1956.
Wow, that's a long time ago. That is really... And you came from where?
Burns, Oregon.
Oh, the great Burns, Oregon, out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, almost.
You went from Burns, Oregon to Alhambra. My goodness. Burns is farming, well, mill workers and out in the middle of farming, out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, farm. It was where it was because of the sawmill.
Okay, yeah, the end of the railroad.
The end of the railroad.
And how did you get the job in Martinez at Alhambra?
Well, my wife and I decided that we had to get out of the desert, and I plastered applications and things around all over Northern California, and came down here for a full week of interviews. And most of the superintendents would get my letter, and they would they would send a form letter back saying, "Come and see us. We're glad to talk to you. We'll be hiring in June," or something like that.
Yeah.
But Mr. Knowles sent me an appointment time, and so I showed up for my appointment, and I liked Mr. Knowles, and went out and talked to Gren Jones, and I liked him, and they seemed to like me, so I come back home to Burns and got a telegram from Mr. Knowles saying I was hired.
Oh, what a great thing. That's Butch Knowles.
Yes.
He was the superintendent of the Martinez School District at that time.
That's right.
Yeah, a revered figure, great big guy. He had big shoulders. I remember him quite well. And before that, he had been the principal at Alhambra.
That's right, and football coach.
And football coach, yeah. That's the way things used to be done.
Yeah.
And Grenville Jones was a longtime principal at that time.
Yeah, he was, I don't know, 21 years or something.
Yeah, a long time, yeah. Well known. So, but where were you originally from before Burns, Oregon?
I grew up in a little town east of Cheyenne, Wyoming.
It gets colder and colder.
Well, not colder than Burns, I don't think, but...
Cheyenne's not colder than Burns?
I don't know.
Oh, but Cheyenne, Wyoming, the vision we have living in California is it's mighty cold there. It's a little town, huh?
The town I grew up in?
Yeah.
We could count 100 if we counted the preacher's dog.
The preacher's dog.
Yeah.
You'd get 100. Now, where was your wife from?
She was from the same little town.
No kidding. So when you guys, how old were you when you met?
Well, I guess I was about 2.5 and she was in the crib. We grew up actually on farms that were adjacent to each other, about 1.5 miles apart.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Boy, that's a great story. And your wife ultimately becomes a school teacher in Martinez as well. She was a credentialed teacher.
Yes, she taught Las Hunnas, mostly Las Hunnas, 24 years.
Wow.
I think she was a couple years over at Morello, but...
And what grade did she teach?
Mostly grade 4.
So Mrs. Smith, that's what the teachers used to be known as, you know, Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith, at 4th grade at Las Hunnas and Morello.
That's right.
Wow.
And you'd be surprised to know this, Tom, but I go to the grocery store now, I'm still known as Mr. Smith.
I believe that, yeah. Yeah, I believe that. Well, you were my teacher as well when I was at Alhambra. You taught at that time journalism and also did the yearbook.
And a couple, 3 sections of English.
And a couple, yeah. I don't know if I had you in English. I might have.
You didn't.
But you were a very good teacher in journalism. You were always one of my,
thank you.
Always one of my favorite. And I love yearbook. You know, it's a... I got to put some of my buddies in the yearbook, to put it mildly.
Yeah, that yearbook's a taskmaster.
Yeah.
It takes care of all your time.
So you start off in Wyoming, and then where did you go to get your credential or your college and that sort of thing?
Well, I graduated from the University of Wyoming.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And then did my graduate work at Oregon State.
The great Oregon State.
Oregon State.
Hold it. Oregon State University in Corvallis. Great place.
The home of the great pumpkin, yeah.
The home of the great pumpkin.
And so then I got my Oregon credentials there,
Yeah.
and then I came down here and I had to take some of them class to get a California credential. I think it was audiovisual aids or something like that.
So you got the California credential too. Well, that's good. It's quite an accomplishment. So you come down to California, and where did you? Did you live in Martinez when you first came, and what have you?
We bought a home in Martinez, and we're still living in it.
I'll be darned. Well, good. That's good stuff. I love these stories. These are good stories. And people on the staff at Alhambra, when you came, some of them might remember some of the names. I know Miss Weehee would have been there.
Yes.
Ralph Jackson.
Yes.
Miss Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mabel Fitzpatrick.
No. We'll go with that. That's not right, but
She had a nickname, in other words, among the teachers.
yeah, but her name wasn't Maple. It was something else. First name was something different, but that's all right.
Okay, yeah. And Miss Weehee, boy, I loved Miss Weehee as a teacher. She was a terrific teacher. So there was a lot of quality on that staff at that time.
Very good staff.
Yeah.
Very good staff.
When we were off camera, we were talking about one of the things before we started the show here, is I remember when I was at Alhambra from 1960 to 64, there was a lot of shop and shop classes,
Yes.
which did a lot of good stuff. Tell me about that.
Well, the shop classes, first of all, they were financed pretty much by federal government through the Smith-Hughes Act.
I see.
And so you could actually set up a shop program and schedule kids to take one shop 2 hours long, or sometimes
Yeah.
two shops, so 4 hours a day might go to shop work, you know.
Yeah.
And they had a very good carpentry department, a very good metal shop, and eventually got a very good electrical shop. And then, of course, we lost all that when we lost the federal funding and lost the desire, maybe, to have shops.
So the shop classes, which were so practical for some of the students, are no longer what they once were.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
You can't go into a shop and really hold a real good class in 1 hour.
Yeah.
Because it takes so long to get ready and to clean up.
Yeah. So you need a couple of hours anyway.
Yeah, that's my feeling.
When I was at Alhambra, the auto shop was just central of the campus, you know. And then the electrical shop was interesting because those guys were smart, and they had some real talented people in there who were doing all kinds of things around the campus, you know.
Yeah.
And wiring music into rooms and stuff like that. And then the metal shop and the wood shop were always people in there working hard, you know. And a lot of them became actually people that worked on engines later on in their career in life. I remember a lot of them always working on cars and things like that. So they were mechanical.
And we had very good shop teachers.
Yeah. Who were some of them in those days?
Well, Les Schroeder was electrical,
He was very good.
and Mr. Morton
Oh, yes.
was the old
Yeah, Mr. Morton. Yeah.
metal shop teacher, and then Doug Royks took his place.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who was in the auto shop. Jack Hodgman, maybe?
Yeah,
I think so.
And Suckledge was in wood
Suckledge was in
wood
wood
shop.
shop.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of good people. And then down at the old gym, you had Ralph Jackson. Of course, who else would have been there in those days?
Oh, gosh. When Ralph was there, Jim Coulter.
Jim Coulter, that's right. He was there when you
head
came.
football coach. And then Bob Harrison was not teaching gym, but he was coaching down there a lot.
Yeah.
He coached basketball.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And, I don't know, Sam Ramey eventually. And,
Oh, the great Sam Ramey.
you know, a lot of coaches went through.
But you came from Wyoming and came through Oregon to come to Martinez. There were a lot of teachers at Alhambra and in the school district who were from Oregon.
Yeah, there was, I think, 5 or 6.
At least.
At least.
Well, Bob Harrison was out of Oregon.
Bob Harrison, Maxine Barber in home economics,
Okay, yeah.
and another gal, I can't remember her name, was from Oregon,
Yeah.
and Leroy Merchant.
Leroy Merchant, yes.
He came before me about 3 years.
Yeah, he was a math teacher, I think, math and science.
And Noel Knopf a little later.
Noel Knopf, who was here at Alhambra for 1 year and coached Morgan Groth in track and field.
I guess that's right, Tom.
Yeah, that is. And Morgan Groth set all the records. Mm-hmm. He had the natural ability, and Noel Knopf really helped him. Bill Baum was an Oregonian,
Bill Baum came
wasn't he?
from Oregon. Mm-hmm.
How about Dar Harris?
And Dar Harris. Well, Dar was from Washington, but that's the same difference.
Yeah,
you know.
same Northwest. Sam Ramey.
Yes, good old Sam was from there.
Yeah. Don't tell any Sam Ramey stories. We'll be here forever.
Well, yeah, I think we better not tell Sam Ramey
Well,
stories.
at least tell the story about when you met him when he first came to Martinez on the ferry.
Yeah, we were trying to determine when he came here, and I remembered it being a very, very hot summer day in August, and I took my 2 girls. I don't know if my wife went along or not, but I took my 2 girls and went down and rode the ferry.
Yeah.
Just to kind of cool off. And we rode over to Benicia, and as we came back, suddenly I ran into Sam and his wife Rube on the deck of the ferry, along with Ole Olson, who went to Mount Diablo District.
Ole Olson, yeah.
And I had known Sam at Oregon State, so it was kind of nice to meet him.
Oh,
and they
yeah.
were just moving into town.
Oh, God, yeah. And he was such a character and was later football coach at Alhambra my junior and senior year, and real character. And it was Dean of Boys also, and quite a character. So you knew him at Oregon State University when you were there getting your teaching credential.
Right.
And that's Corvallis is a nice town.
Oh, yeah, beautiful town.
But Sam, didn't you tell me he was at Reedsport or somewhere along the coast?
Yeah, he was at Gardner or Gardnerville? Gardner, I think it was.
Okay.
Which is 5 or 6 miles north of Coos Bay.
Yeah, that's a lot of water in there, a lot of rain. No, really, it is.
The story they tell is Sam and Bob were refereeing a football game.
Bob Harrison?
Bob Harrison. They were refereeing a football game. They set the ball down in the middle of the field and it floated away.
I believe it. Yeah. Oh, it can get, especially out there in the coast. That's just no banana belt at all. Can't believe it. Now, when you did, what subjects did you teach when you first came to town?
Well, the first year I was here, and somebody who was assigned to teach English resigned just before I got here. And so I ended up with 5 sections of freshman English, which gave me 161 kids, plus what I had for yearbook staff, which was only 5 or 6 that year. But
yeah. But yearbook staff, so had you done that before?
yeah, I had done 5 of them before.
Up in Burns, huh?
3 in Burns, 2 in Wyoming.
2 in Wyoming, Burns. So Burns was your first out-of-state from Wyoming teaching job.
Right.
Yeah, boy, old Burns, they must have turnover there. But ultimately, you're there at Alhambra, and then you left for a while, didn't you?
Well, in 1966, because of things the State Department did, they created the job of welfare and attendance worker.
Okay.
And I had the credential for it, and I applied for it, and got it. And then, at the same time, they initiated a continuation high school.
Oh.
And Joe Reynolds had that for 2 years, I think.
Was Joe an Oregonian?
No, Utah.
Utah.